Hello, everybody. It's me again. I had to talk yesterday. I'm trying to be better today because I'm the only one that's between you and your well-deserved lunch. Today I'm going to talk about FOSDEM. For anyone who's new to the conference business, FOSDEM is one of the largest open source conferences in the world. We run it on a yearly schedule starting in the first weekend of February, when it's we've guaranteed the shittiest weather that you can imagine in Belgium. It's always cold. You will probably catch a cold when you are there, but you will also have the opportunity to meet a very, very large crowd of open source people, nerds. We aim for around about 10,000 people a day, and roughly 80 to 90,000 devices that we will try to handle within our infrastructure, because we're not only the conference attendees there, there's also normally on the weekend that we have students there as well that use the infrastructure of the university in Brussels, where everything is taking place. And then there's this nerdy conference with all those many device carrying people that are dressed like this and have FOSDEM shirts. I've seen one back there. And we try to... Oh, the Mac is gonna sleep. Hey, wake up. Yeah, and we do FOSDEM completely run by volunteers, not like staff at this conference where people are being paid for it. We do it completely, on a pro bono basis. People come, they give us their time, they get some food from us, and then we run a conference. And it's completely unorganized, you might think, because they just show up on Friday, say, hey, I want to build up, I want to lay a network cable through the university building, or I want to just help staffing the wardrobe, anything like that. They come to us and we are happy to have them, but we don't know how many people will be coming, or will they be coming. They can sign up, but will they show up? And that's what we're always struggling with. And due to the fact that we are one of the largest open source conferences, it's quite hard to have it running smoothly. And we try to run it smoothly. I don't know if any one of you has been to FOSDEM in the recent years. Yeah, just a few. We try to do things there a bit different. For example, we don't usually give people internet access with IPv4. We just give them IPv6 because we think everything else is doomed. Then there are issues that there are websites that are still IPv4 only, for example. We need to deal with that as well when giving people IPv6 only network. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Also, what we do at the conference, how conferences are run. Maybe you get an understanding if you want to start a meetup in your community. You might have some useful information in this talk as well. At the University of Brussels, we have granted a small cabinet where we can have 2 racks, where we can have our core infrastructure. We are sponsored by Cisco, so that's why we have a Cisco ASR for our routing, and we have several Cisco switches. We also have servers there that are sitting there at the university the whole year and monitor everything. And we do this completely with open source. We use Prometheus, Loki, and Grafana for monitoring, because we try to tend to do everything open source at FOSDEM and try to avoid as much proprietary stuff as possible. We have data for almost everything we do, and we share it openly. For example, those hoodies, not those, they are not for sale, but the swag that you can get from us. You have dashboards, how many hoodies are left, in which size, and so on, and it's all public, it's all in the internet, and you can just see if it's worth going to one of our buildings and trying to get in a queue for a hoodie, or if they're already sold. As we run about 30-ish tracks in parallel, that are all being live streamed and recorded on site, and all done by mostly complete open source boxes. We have a quite good video setup for running the conference. Usually we just restream it through YouTube for the next edition that we're just planning. We will do the whole streaming completely on site without any proprietary vendor like YouTube or Twitch or something like that, and we will improve our video setup even more to be completely open source and get rid of the last bit that's commercial in there. We have currently a rendering farm that is helping us with this pre-encoding, and I'm going to show you how that will all look like, and you maybe then get an imagination of what we're doing there. This is one of our video boxes. It's not as fancy as, I don't know what you're using for recording here. We have cameras in the back, and we have a projector and slides, and we have everything built our own. We have those nice boxes. They're plywood that we have attached some FOSDEM logos on the other side, and we basically have a network switch, SSD, we have a Banana Pi, LCD screen that shows you if the device is actually working, and then we have this Blackmagic encoder, which we'll now get rid of, which is the only commercial product that is not open source. It just takes the HDMI signals and converts it to an H.264 video stream that we will then put into our Banana Pi and feed it back to the network. This is all done by volunteers. They just come with a big box of screws and screwdrivers and then try to unbreak them, because like every year you pull them out of our office where they lay around the whole year. You put them out and say, oh, what's broken this time? Because it's laying around. And we always fix them, and these are the last boxes that you can see, because we're now converting everything to laptops. Have a laptop, have a USB HDMI grabber card, and do everything with a laptop, and instead of those boxes, because they're quite shitty to repair when you're when shit hits the fan, as we say, because you have to always unscrew everything, then work around through that ugly cabling, and so we decided to just throw them away this year. We dismantled them, whoopsie, and we will now move to a completely new setup with laptops, more commodity hardware, and laptops have one big benefit. They have their built-in USB. They have, in case of the power outage or power is not working properly, they have a battery and they will just run, because there are many people that are tipping over cables. It's not like here, you can't see the cables, which is excellent. At FOSDEM it's a bit more chaotic. We have cables flying around the dev room, or there are duct tape that sticks to the wall, and for the first hour or so, and after 2 days it's a mess. Yeah. Just one of the things I wanted to show, our video setup is quite complex. This is for one of our rooms where we have the information, because we have volunteers. They don't know what to do. They just show up, and we give them a plan. Here's what you could do. Take this camera, take this box, go to the room, and then just wire it up like this. And this is this works. It's all written. Everything has labels on it, and you just can go and can then take our instruction sheet and just build up a room. You don't need to photograph that. It's all on GitHub. It's all public. Everyone can have it, because we're defaulting to open and transparency, and yeah, there is we also have other direct informations available for the people that try to build up. We are trying to make them aware of, when they build up things, that we need a little what we need from a network perspective, how many gigabits or megabits we need for the network, so they don't just plug their machines there and try to run a torrent server, because we need the bandwidth, and try to make every one of the people that has access there aware of, hey, we need this for video streaming, and it's not for your personal purpose, to just don't plug your stuff in. So how does it look like from an infrastructure perspective? This is a rack, which is really, I think it's really nice cabled, especially this area is superb. This is the Cisco, and it's always a mess, because you can imagine it's a university, and we're just guests there. They just don't wait for us when anything happens. If they need to do construction work, if they need to lay fibers, we will get some information and read it 3 weeks or a month later and see, okay, we needed to relocate your fiber panels, and all of a sudden they were not in this rack, they were in this rack, and then you just, you come to the venue and see, oh, where's my fiber panel, and then you just start throwing cables and hope everything's working. And this is our rendering farm where all of the video processing is done. And when the data that is been generated in the room through the laptop or through the camera is here being rendered and resized, and we do some artwork that we have. That when you see our live stream, you always have a FOSDEM logo. You have a small box with the speaker, a big box with the slides. Everything is done in flight here, and then sent to the internet. Anyone is interested in seeing things like that live, you can always have a chat with us at FOSDEM. Just come to the K building. There's a big room called Knock and Walk. Just go there, knock politely, and we will open up, and you can have a walk around and see what we're doing to run the conference. So coming back to the point that we don't usually do IPv4, we needed to have some workarounds for the IPv6 network, or IPv6 only network. We heavily rely on DNS 6.4 for the address translation, and we did it years before ever with a bind, because bind was just working, and we saw some performance problems, and that's why we decided to switch to core DNS during the conference to see if it has an impact when we use core DNS over bind, and we saw a significant reduction in resources, especially on the CPU side. And that's what we did in 2020, which was, I think, a week before COVID started here in Europe. And with the knowledge that core DNS was capable of dealing with that size of conference on a very small machine, we then decided to just we just dropped bind and switched to core DNS, which is one of the findings which you can do because you have a big lab. One of the presentations mentioned it. If you test it in production, but not in my personal production, someone else's production. So this is FOSDEM for us. We can test things like that, like core DNS in a production environment where no one gets hurt. Because the only thing that's hurting is you don't get to a website that isn't IPv6 enabled, and that's maybe not that hurtful because maybe the site is not that good anyways. So what do we typically do, and how long does it take to build up such a conference? The conference is on Saturday and Sunday, and we typically had everything set up on Saturday in the morning. We had to install the routers there, BGP, get our assignment from RIPE that we have the conference IP address assignment, which we can only is only valid for 30 days or so. And we started to improve every year, and from installing everything on the last day before the conference, we tried to move everything more away from the conference, that everything is set up, and now we have it to a point where we can say we have the routers just standing there. We don't need to build them anymore because we are now somewhat stable on the router and Cisco side. Might change this year because we just happen to get an upgrade and get more bandwidth, so we need to find some more modules for the Cisco to upgrade them. So if anyone has Cisco modules or kidney to donate so we can buy one, we're happy to take it. Okay. Router is one thing. The other thing is having everything up and running, which is maybe not the same, or mostly not the same, because we rely on infrastructure that we're not managing. Most of the stuff there is belongs to the university, to ULB, and if they decide to change VLAN assignments, they just do it and don't tell us, for example. And so that's why we're always trying to chase chase after them and having the network up and running and finally tested so the conference can start. And as you can see, the start times when we started, before we moved everything to Ansible and more automation, and we were quite late, like having the information roughly 4 hours before the conference starts that everything is working, and the network admins just falling asleep in the moment the conference starts. We tried to get better and better and better and improving that so that everyone can go to bed and have a nice FOSDEM without any incidents, and everything should be up and running. The other parts that we are taking care of, we do the monitoring, and we also being partly responsible for the video setup. Video setup, you can think of, there are coming large trucks with cameras, with microphones, everything's in small cases. You just go through a pile of hardware and try to get an inventory of what you have actually been delivered, if it's there, if it's not there, if the serial number is correct. And this is a manual process which takes ages. And you can maybe see that when we were done with building up video at 11:30 and the conference started 1.5 hours before that, you can think of how much work this is, because we usually try to start Friday at noon. We've been better. We've gone the way of documenting. I've showed you the documents before, and that we have everything in flowcharts. Everyone should be aware of what you need. We know you have a room, you take these 3 pieces and just go there, walk there. We improved year over year to get better and better and better. And you can see that 19 o'clock, that's very, very good time for building that up. But then things happen, like this year there was a building we didn't have a key, and then you just go chasing down a key at a very large university campus and try to find one on Friday after 4 p.m. It's ridiculous. And we'll have the challenge next year for 2024, because the main event building will not be accessible on Friday, and so we most likely will be working the whole night through. This was the story that, so far that we, for most of the FOSDEMs that we were running pre-COVID. We closed down FOSDEM 2020 with a very good state. Everything was moved to Ansible. Everything could be deployed within roughly 30 minutes from scratch. And from a technical perspective, everything was cool. Everything was smooth. Then we left. Then a week later, we were hit by COVID in Germany or in EU general, and we had no conferences at the ULB for 2 years, which was quite nice because you had no infrastructure to manage. But we also had one of the people that was managing the infrastructure leaving the FOSDEM team, which we didn't really notice because there was no infrastructure to manage. And last year we came back and went, okay, we need to do that conference again. How was it 2 years ago? Well, don't know, 30 minutes Ansible, everything was fine. But the person doing it wasn't there. We had one working SSH key, and then we just got in and installed bazillion numbers of package updates and everything. Had a look at the infrastructure, which we can only do remote because no one of us lives in Brussels from the team that's managing it. See some, okay, they're running, fans are spinning, RAID battery is completely shit, but okay, we will get through that with the conference. Trying to start those Ansible script that worked before in 30 minutes. Where are those Ansible modules? They're not maintained anymore. There's no replacement for them. So what should we do? Fix them all, or just try to have everything running and then have a beer at one of the great breweries there? Okay, we do everything from scratch. And we started early in January, trying to have everything running before FOSDEM. We were quite good at all of our usual timelines. You can see these are the logs that we have from the routers. We got our first 10 gig line last year. We were really happy to have them, but we didn't trust it, which was good to not trust it. We got our BGP sessions with them up. Everything was cool and running. And then we fired up the 10 gig line, fired that BGP session. Everything was not longer up and running. And we just fell into panic mode because we had jobs to do, because we do it in the night. We have day jobs, and at night we then just work with them, the FOSDEM equipment. We try to figure out what was happening. Now you have a broken BGP session that worked like 10 minutes it worked, and 20 minutes it didn't work to get access to the service, and we try to debug what is going on. Thank you. I've seen it. And that's where our monitoring came into play, because we have decided to have the monitoring on-site and off-site. We just forwarded all of the monitoring data to another instance that we had running at Hetzner, just to have a backup of everything, and just in case that our production site is down. One of the concepts is don't monitor things on the same infrastructure that your monitoring runs. Good caveat, we've not run it. So we set up Loki last year and tried to get an understanding from the syslogs that we have, because we just had syslog. Syslog was local there, didn't work good for just being a UDP pushed over the net, and you might get it. It's like a UDP joke. And we pushed it into Loki on the same machine, which has some sort of mechanisms built in, so you can ship the data once you have a connection. We have that in Promtail that has the ability to just buffer the data and then just send it out once a connection is working again. So we were able to get batches of the information. During that small time frames, the connection was working. Everything was pushed to Hetzner, and then we were able to debug again. It was like, a nightmare. We had them, we could see what was going on, really nice. So always try to have a backup of your, or a redundant monitoring setup. That's one of the key takeaways from that. And we then just had hours of conversations with them and found everything was okay after removing MTU, special MTU settings on the uplinks. We were told by the provider that set up the secondary link to have some special treatment for Cisco devices. We did it, and after all, this was just removing MTU on the uplink, and everything was fine. And we got everything in place. All of the BGP was self-healing it. It took ages because the Cisco we're using is not that good at handling a full table. But we got it just before the conference, and on the second day of the conference, we then moved to moved the BGP session while running the conference, just to see if that's possible, if somebody would notice it. Because we were still running on the first session, which is only 1 gig uplink, and the second session was a 10 gig uplink, which we wanted to saturate, because more bandwidth is always good, use it. And as you can see, there was a reason. Does it work? We had a 1 gig line, and we tried to push out more data. And this was not possible on the first day, but on the second day we were able to push out more than 1 gig, because the new BGP session, which was running over the 10 gig line, actually worked, and we were able to tell them, hey, cool that we got that 10 gig line. We barely used it, just 1.1 gig or so with saturation, but we were very confident in, okay, for next year we can have more bandwidth and then relocate the streaming, get it off of YouTube and do it all ourselves. So this was like the test or the benchmarking, if we can do it or if we can't do it. One of the things you can do during the conference, you can check out our public dashboards, get an insight what's going on inside the FOSDEM network. I hope we will have complete infrastructure monitoring this year, because the university kicked out all of the Cisco Wi-Fi equipment and replaced it with a or cloud-managed extreme solution, and I hope we get access to that back again. And if you're interested in how we run the conference, there's a GitHub repo for FOSDEM infrastructure. You have all of the manuals in there, how to build a video setup. And once the new video setup is done, it all will also end up in the infrastructure repo. And you can maybe take some notes from there and start your own mini conference or your meetup group, and you do it on a non-paid basis, all open source, all open hardware. So that should be it. If you have any questions, just ask, or if you see me wandering around, I'm wearing this ugly sweater here. Feel free, just approach me, and if not, enjoy your lunch break. And back to the MC to take any questions.
Yeah, exactly. First, the applause. Are there any questions about the inner workings of FOSDEM infrastructure? Yes.
Since you already mentioned open hardware, so on the laptops in your very entertaining rendering farm, are there also open hardware? Or?
They're just Lenovo that we get from eBay every year from some refurbishment. And it's not an open hardware, it's what Lenovo gives or sells to customers. We try to be as much sustainable as possible, so not just buy every year new laptops. We just try to get refurbished stuff, and we also usually sell those to the company, to the attendants of the conference. So if you're interested in having a laptop that is shipped with Debian and some code from us, you usually can buy them after the conference. I think we will move away from that because we will now have to deal with 3 times the amount of laptops. So maybe we will consider to just storing them, because sourcing them every year, trying to get 70 laptops or so, all the same brand, the same hardware specs, it's getting quite hard to do that nowadays. You can imagine you have there, I think last time it was 5 different keyboard layouts from Sweden, from Poland, and from UK mostly, but non-German, because I used 2 German keyboards. And those are some of the problems that we have with the hardware. And I personally wouldn't know of any open hardware laptop that's around that you could use. It is available in that, in this quantity.
Are there any other questions? Yes, in the back.
Not you.
Okay, maybe not. Yeah.
Like, Gerhard, go ahead. Sorry.
Where do you keep all these boxes? As long as you need to keep them at home, or they
So the question was, where do we keep the hardware during the year when the conference is not running? And we have an office space rented in Belgium, somewhere near Brussels, where we have everything stored. All of those video boxes, they come in big flight cases, approximately 3 meters long and 19-inch width, where we can just have everything in. We just pack it to the truck, bring it to our office, and then have their storage space for the office within the office room where we can have them. And usually they sit. We take them out of the flight trays and have them in open shelves where we can then have it like a mini operation. How's it called? Operationssaal, where we can some place where we can fix all the hardware because it's constantly needs maintenance. But yeah, we have an office and we have office space where we can store them. And if not, there's a big place inside the ULB beneath the K. I don't know if anyone is aware of what K is. K is one of the bigger buildings. It's the main keynote, one of the main keynote rooms, and there's plenty of space where we could also store them. I think we did it twice because of the weather situations. We were not able to evacuate everything on time, and we just left it there for a week and then brought it to the office.
We've got time for one more question. Yes.
What's your budget for the network part at FOSDEM?
So the question was, what's the budget for a network? We don't have a strict budget. We just buy the things that we need if we need something. We sell T-shirts. We sell them. We don't sell them at the price we buy them. So there's a margin, and we can use that for buying things like that. And typically, when we need something, we just buy it. I don't know if we will need to buy an MX204, for example, which would be the thing that I would like to have for next year, which is around 15K or so if you buy it refurbished. But if we need it, we just buy it, and there will be some budget. It's not the big problem. But we buy it refurbished. We don't usually buy fresh hardware because kidney donations or liver donations, we would do a CFP. Oh, speaking of CFPs, we released the dev rooms yesterday, so there should be, if anyone of you is interested in talking at FOSDEM, the CFPs for FOSDEM should start anytime soon. I know that 2 of the dev rooms already started their CFPs, and if you want to have a talk at FOSDEM, just look at the FOSDEM website and watch out for the CFPs. They're just flowing in at the moment.
Once again, thank you very much, Sebastian, for those rare and detailed insights.